All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Joshua Peach. We're going to get started in about 30 to 45 seconds here. I'm just going to give just a few more seconds because we got a number of folks trying to get in here, and then we will get right to it. And we really appreciate you coming and joining us. This is a, a challenge that we're all facing in the industry, and we've got a couple of true experts here. So what I'm going to do is my name is Joshua Peach, and I'm at your service and operations here, also known as the Vice President of Business Development is my official title. And very fortunate to have, I'll do the not Price is Right, but the panel's the Brady Bunch here. And over to my left is Mr. Keith Watkins at New Rochelle, and I'm going to let him each tell a little bit about themselves. But I've known Keith 28, 27, 28 years. I knew Keith when he was just a young buck getting started in upstate New York. So Keith, first, welcome, and give us a little bit of what you're doing and how you're doing, and then we'll get into some questions.
Great, Josh. Thanks for having me. Glad to be a part of this. I think we're going to get a lot of value out of this. I think the conversation will continue after we close this down too, and I think that's highly encouraged. So, hello, everybody. Thanks for joining. Keith Watkins, current Director of Facilities for the City School District of New Rochelle. November 1st, I'll start my 36th year in K-12 public facilities management in New York State public schools. I'm actually 29 years old, even though I look 53. But I do have just over 1 year left. At 55 and 37 years, I'll pull the plug and go into private consulting. But I get up every day with the passion to serve our students. We work for our students. That's who we support. We should never lose that vision or that sight. This is my sixth district. I spent 27 years in the upstate New York area around Syracuse, New York. I've been down here in Westchester County, 22 minutes outside of New York City for over 8 years now. I'm the past president of the New York State School Facilities Association, past president of the National School Plant Management Association. Wear lots of hats. They all mean nothing. My gift, my joy has honestly just been working with the multitude of students in New York State, and I get no better pleasure than to provide that safe, clean environment for all of our students, staff, and community members who call our facilities home.
Awesome. And welcome. And Keith and I we started it during COVID with these educational webinars, and I'm just honored to have him back. I've missed him. We haven't done one of these in a number of years, so glad to have you back. And we brought the new guy, and he's been taking notes on us before we started here and hit the record button. So he's got a lot of info on us now. But Brendan Arsenal, where in the world are you? I now know you're in Maine, but tell us a little bit about your history, and what you do, and what makes you happy.
Yeah, thanks. Happy to be on here too and meet everyone and kind of talk and have a great discussion around this. A common problem that all of us are facing across the industry, and more discussion brings more awareness to it. So happy to be on here today. So I work for a company called Skillcat. We are a online startup and a app that is helping bring technical training more aware to individuals trying to break into the trades. I've been with the company for about 3.5, coming up on 4 years now. My background is working in the trades for about 5, 6 years. Everyone from HVAC, plumbers, electricians, understanding their common problems, and being one of the founding members over here just brings a lot of those insights of everything that we do to be able to help all the customers that we serve. Originally, we first started off as like a hiring platform. So we ended up creating some really awesome, cool systems with placement rates up to 93% for most of the customers that we worked with. So really bringing a lot of that knowledge of what we learned of what individuals in the trades are looking for to be able to really help the customers that we work with so that we can help fill the trades gap. I don't know if you guys have heard, but there's a little trades gap happening nowadays. So I think there's something that we have to do about it. I don't know.
Well, depending on where you look, the trades is at around 3 million positions that they're anticipating or needing to be filled, and we just don't have the talent set of folks or the interest level in folks that I'm seeing. I'm seeing an increase. Voc Tech schools are definitely spiking. And Keith, we'll start with you because I tripped over this by accident with you in a comment in a conversation. You're bringing your talent, and we don't have all the answers. Before I go, these aren't all the answers, and it's not all going to work because I see people in Oregon. I see Ann Berkey's here. Welcome. I see Mike Gorman. I see people from coast to coast. Mike's in Massachusetts. Um, Everything's not going to work for everyone. But the one thing that we do have to do is we have to start doing things differently. And I think one of the best ways for us to do things is our talent pool is in our schools. We have an unfair competitive advantage that these kids are going through our programs. And if we can get them interested in staying in the school and working in their career and giving them career opportunities, that's a great way to do it. And Keith, you and I just had this passing conversation. I'm like, holy mackerel, you're doing some really cool stuff. And you've got my friend there that's a head custodian in your largest elementary school, right? We can tell that story and tell a little bit about the program that you're doing.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. So, been here 8 years. The first year I got here, I started to inquire about, a youth program, student program. What do we have? And like you said, every district's going to be different what state you are in. So we're fortunate enough. My office is at City Hall. We have 11 school buildings. We have the second largest high school in New York State. It's over 520,000 square feet with over 3,000 students. So we're about just under a 10,000 student district with 1.6 million square feet. I have a department of 127. So during the summer, this is a huge resource, and it's also it's a present talent pool. And we've learned to collaborate and use that resource. And we partnered with the Youth Bureau, who also sports jobs in Parks and Rec, youth programs throughout the summer while kids are out of school. So we originally started hiring 50 youth a year. We've kicked it back to 30, budget cuts everywhere, but we are actively hiring 30 youth every year. We divide them up amongst the buildings. So we have school initiatives, and then we have school city initiatives, and the city has also started a pretty cool initiative, but I'll talk about that as well. But the youth summer program, we hire 30 kids. The Youth Bureau actually facilitates the interviews. It has a lot to do with income based. It has a lot of criteria, and these kids have to show up in ties and dresses. They have to come prepared for this interview, and that's the part that I really like. It's not just to check the boxes and you got the job. They're actively interviewing these kids. They encourage resumes. They encourage to talk about previous work history. So I think what we have to remember, this connection with these students, a lot of times this is going to be their first job, first employment opportunity, right? So I have to drill into my staff that they might make some comments off the cuff like it's like babysitting. Who's got time for this nonsense, right? So I have to always remind them that it's the first job for many, and you should be privileged to speak into these youth's lives to hold them accountable. So we like to allow growth, but we also like to tie that with accountability and responsibility. So they come in. We understand who got hired. We kind of place them by transportation needs. If they live 3 blocks down from an elementary, we try to put them there. A lot of the smarter kids understand what buildings have fully AC and which buildings don't. So they like to go to the buildings with air conditioning. Don't let that fool you, but they're smart kids. And so we bring them in. And if it's their first year, we start with the basic cleaning, moving furniture, just the general stuff. There's a list of, I put up these summer sheets for every classroom and every restroom, and it's a list in order what needs to be done in every space. There's a spot on the bottom for work order repairs needed. So they'll make a list of the work orders that need to be submitted by the plant manager or the custodian. And then there's also check boxes, and they have to put their initials on each task to show that they're responsible and they completed that task. Now, we do get a lot of return students. We've moved them on if they've inquired or wanted to do a little more. We've let them actually, do things like light maintenance, replacing light bulbs, getting up on ladders, using a baker scaffold, and also kind of shadowing HVAC folks who do minor maintenance on classroom univents. They can oil motors, they can change filters. And of course, that just increases the amount of questions. Hey, what's that for? What does that do? So it's a learning process. And the story that Josh, you had shared with the individual named Myrique, he was in this youth program. And then he got hired prior to my arrival as a part-time worker. I show up, ask why this guy's been a part-time worker for a little while, give him full-time as a laborer. So he's been here about 7 years now, and he has worked his way through the ranks. He's been mentored on the civil service exams. We've given him some material. I've sat and done tests with him myself. He pretty much aced the custodian exam and is now the custodian of a 132,000 square foot elementary. And now his own kids are starting to come through kindergarten, and it's just a great story to tell folks about. He had no idea what he wanted to do. He admits that. You got to interview him a little bit. I brought him on one of your podcasts, and he's got a great story. He really was just going to be a drifter. He was going to fall through the cracks. We got this kid. We showed him some things of interest. He asked the right questions, and it aligned with something that he could do and be successful at. And that's what we're here to do. We're to put people in positions to be successful, and he's one of our own students, and there's no better story than that.
Yeah, no, and I can't believe he's 7 years, because I met him just after COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So 4 years. That's amazing. So,
Yep.
no, that's good stuff. Hey, we'd love to hear from anyone that's on here. You put in the chat if you have a program similar to this that's working, if you have something that's working in finding people to fill much needed spots where you're looking. I always tell people that if you're looking for a custodian or a transportation professional, no better place to look than the grandparent pool in the school district. Like, grandparents are typically retired, and they're older. They've put some work in, but boy, there's a whole lot of pride in helping. If they love their grandkids, they're going to love all kids, and they make a difference. It's a great place to kind of look at. We do, or put any questions that you have in. And it sounds to me, Brendan, you've kind of taken all of this a step further and put it into a business, which is great. I guess my first question to you is, how are people currently training their teams up that you're seeing, or how is what you're doing bridging a gap and helping the Keiths of the world?
Yeah, so very similar to like Keith's program is we understood that we have to start educating the younger generation and the older generation too, like letting the parents know like college is not the only option, and then allowing them to take those beliefs that they have and pass those down to the kids. Instead of, for me, when I graduated high school, it was you're going to college. Like, there was no other second option. Whether I wanted to take a break off, it was you're going to college. So I ended up going to college. Don't think I got what I paid for. However, I do think it was very beneficial. But you look at those kids at the school and start talking about the opportunities that they have that maybe they don't know what they want to do yet. And instead of the guidance counselors or the parents just saying, you got to go to college and go here and go do this, educating them like, hey, go into the workforce, go work with your hands. If you like working with your hands and you can test it out, working in a program like Keith's, there's programs out there now like SkillCat that will allow you to train up and get that basic knowledge of being able to change the light bulb, climb up on a ladder safely and not hurt yourself, do all of the preventative maintenance on an HVAC unit or a mini split, so that you don't have to go to just a trade school. You can get that paid apprenticeship program. We looked at the numbers. Believe it or not, 24% of students in their first year of college drop out. Around 40% never actually even graduate with a bachelor's degree when they go to college. So what those numbers tell me is 40% of people that go to college should have never gone to college. They should have just gone out there and started working in the field, getting that education of working with their hands. So what we did in SkillCat, we made a very affordable program for someone to be able to get that knowledge, test it out, see if they really want to invest their future into being in the trades. And for a business, you come in as a business. On our program, we've got hundreds of hours, like 1,500 hours worth of training on our platform. And you can build that path. So like Keith, year one of someone just doing all the cleaning and doing all of those small little things, you can build a path of all of the training that you want them to go through throughout the summer to do that. And then build it so that next year when they come back, they have all of the training, they have all the knowledge to go do more of those preventative maintenance, light work orders to be able to come in and get it done. That's really what we help build our program for. And we know that takes time, so we also put tools to help assist them right then, right now. If they're in front of it, I need help, they can go through, they can search that system, and it will help them just like that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So Josh,
this is perfect. Are you guys seeing these questions? Because I'm gonna. Yeah. Is that what you wanted to do?
No, real quick. I just, Brandon just said it. You got to stage this in. You don't take a 14-year-old eighth grader freshman who's looking to put a few bucks in their pocket, which, make no mistake, that is a huge piece of the draw, right? They don't know what they want to do. They're kind of wandering. You got to listen to the kids. You got to understand but no kid is going to turn away a few bucks in their pockets ever. And then you have their attention. It's kind of like a teenage kid or student, or sorry, child. The cell phone is a bad thing, but it's also a great discipline tool, right? They listen when you say, I'm taking the cell phone. But just to add, so I for those folks who are like, is it only summer youth? Is it only in the summer? And to Brandon's point, building the foundation to end at the goal or the vision, right? So not only do we have the youth summer program, but this is our third year now collaborating with the high school business teachers who do senior internships. So for the last 3 years, we've had 4 to 6 seniors in good standing who are looking to pursue architecture, engineering, and facilities management, 16-week program where they have to work 4 hours a week with the facilities department. They get to shadow a electrical foreman, a plumbing foreman, an HVAC foreman, or one of my plant managers at the high school. And they actively get to shadow. They're opening switch. They're learning about PPE. They're learning about the tools of the trade. They're watching. They're actually helping. They actually come to City Hall and they sit on my weekly capital construction meetings. They're in my office helping me facilitate the things that come in my office. They're understanding what it means to be a director of facilities. And what that does, if they're successful in completing that 16-week, 4-hour per week program, they get their career and technology educational credits. So they get the CTE stamp on their diploma, which helps them, in their after school, their higher education goals, their trade school. As you know, Josh, I've got 3 boys. One was going to college come hell or high water. He went with 32 AP courses to college to NC State. He took 1 course, became a sophomore. He could have got his master's in 3 years. We made him stay an extra year and get his master's in his 4th year because we told him he'd work the rest of his life. The middle son said, I'm not going to college. I can't stand college. I don't want anything in college. He went right to Florida, did a 4-month technical school. He's now at 22, pulling down about $160,000 a year as a union linesman for Georgia Power. Right. And then the youngest son went to college on a D1 wrestling scholarship, went 1 year, realized, maybe it's time to, hang up the shoes, which made dad a little bit upset, but that's okay. He now works for AstroTurf, making about $140,000 a year as a salesman and commission, and he's the Northeast regional rep. So again, one in college, one who didn't go to college, one who tried college and is now off in the business world as a salesman. You really just need to listen. You need to listen to what the student is saying. You need to find out what their interests are and fill in the blanks. Because if you're in education, and I would say Brendan's in the same, we're filling the blanks to make people successful. And if you're not listening, you're going to miss half of what you need to know.
Yeah. Well, this has gone completely and wonderfully off the rails. In the first 8 minutes, we have loaded with questions. So let's tackle questions if you're okay with that, and we can get back to the other stuff that we kind of talked about. But I think we'll cover a lot of the bases. I think you covered some of this, but Greg Harrow, 2-part question. Keith, is there any focus on your program that is trade specific outside custodial? Then he came back and said, also, is there an age limit for the students that you all hire to work during the summer months?
Greg who? I mean, Greg Harrell. Nice to see you, buddy. Miss you. Yes, it's 14 as soon as you can get your working paper. So we do start at age 14 through their senior year. Once they graduate, they're not allowed to come into the program. Hopefully, we've allowed them to find a trade, find a skill, find a niche, and we're helping them get there. Like I said, they come in. Pretty much, if they come in fresh, young, we do focus on more of the custodial aspect. And then we start to put in light maintenance, light bulbs, univent, possibly even some electrical. If a worker said, hey, I really have an interest in electrical, I would then pair them up with one of my electricians during the day, and possibly I'd have them get on a work order that has some basic outlet switch, some of the simpler things that we all take for granted that these guys, don't know a thing about. So we would tend to teach them the basics. Yes.
And Dennis at Churchville Chili says hi, and that's one of your New York fellas.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Sweet Pete Cantone in New York, love the subject. Plenty of high school students can help. And then we have Rob. This question is for you. This is a great question. Thank you for asking, Rob, because I was thinking a little bit the same. And for everyone that doesn't know, I am a 5-year high school graduate. So I took 5 years to graduate a 4-year high school. And I went to community college, and it was because it was the only thing I could get into, and ended up dropping out. And I wish I did learn a skilled trade at one point, because there was, as Keith is saying, there's a lot of people who don't understand how much money there is, even with custodians in schools, the amount of overtime that they can pick up, and the opportunities to be able to do that. They could do that outside. We talk about finding team members. You could find technicians or custodians. One of the best places to look, churches, because most of them are part-time.
Yeah.
So I'm giving you guys all my nuggets of knowledge of the best places that I go outside of Indeed. But Rob says, Brendan says he didn't get what he paid for, but got some value. What was the skill value experience that he did say he got out of it? And I think I
Yeah,
know where
so
you're going to go with it, but hit us up with what you got.
yeah, so for me, there's two things I say that I did get from value. Is in high school, when you're in there, you're kind of, I'd say like you're labeled when you're there, and you stay with like your friend group. When I went to college, I felt like it was another way to like reinvent who I wanted to be. So I was able to come out of my shell a little bit more and become more of that social person. So I really learned how to talk to people, how to network with people. I'd say that was a huge value for me. One of the experiences I did get was I actually went abroad to Australia for a semester. So I was able to create a lot of friends, networks, contacts, all from around the world. My fiance jokes all the time. Whenever we go somewhere, she's like, "So you know someone here?" I'm like, "Hold on." I check and I'm like, "Yep, know someone right here." So really cool, like networking and learning about how business is done in the world. But I went to school for business. So like Keith's son, he went for a year and then he went and he got a job. I feel like all the knowledge that you get from just working in business and sales is not even close to what you get from when you go to college. Now, if you go and you go to a Stanford and you go get like an MBA, I'm sure that education is a little bit different. However, I didn't do that. So I feel like me going out in the field, and if I had just worked under, I'd say, a CEO for 2 years, I feel like I would have learned so much more than what I would have out of a book. So I'd say that was the biggest difference for me.
Yep. Awesome. And I put your website up. There was Lee had asked how to spell it and where it is, and it's skillcatapp.com. That's in the chat if you want to learn more about what they're doing. And then Dennis, we also hire student help over the summer, currently hiring 18 students plus 10 returning college students. Last year, we hired a previous student helper as a full-time cleaner. Dennis, would love to know where you're at and which district and the size and everything, because that's a solid number. That's a lot of help you're getting out of there. And then Ann, I only get first name. It looks like Ann Berkey out in Ben Lapine, Oregon. And does Keith have program materials he's willing to share, specifically documents that outline requirements, standards, and the 16-week program?
Yeah, I can definitely share more of the 16-week program because that's, facilitated by the business teachers who I'm collaborating with. I'll get what they have and I can share it with Josh or however we
Yep.
can get your information. And just to bring up that program again, this is our third year doing it. And I want to just say that the first year students and last year students, and then there's one student this year who had an interest in electrical work. He shadowed our electrical foreman, and I've also put him in touch with my son. He has now just confirmed he's registered. He's planning on going to the linesman school when he graduates school. He's just waiting for his confirmation. So again, some of these students have gone on to higher education for civil engineering, interior design, construction project management, and like I just said, the lineman. And then we have one here locally who is joining a local electrical apprenticeship here locally in New Rochelle.
Awesome. And Greg said thanks. And Don, hi from Kansas City from Turner School District. Welcome, Don. Good to see you there. Say hi to Chris, Shannon, Rosie, Mark, and the gang over there. Love you guys. Thanks for making it. If there's any other questions, Paul, I can't see the Q&A. I'm just pulling this off the chat. Just want to make sure before we move on, I'm not missing anything.
We do not have anything in the Q&A at the moment.
This is
It's all
great.
in the chat.
It's all in the chat. We'll keep these comments and questions coming because this is your webinar. We're just hosting it. So appreciate that. CCSD in Monroe County, southwest of Rochester, New York, 2,800 students. That's getting 18. New York is doing some good stuff. And do you have, let's see, so Dennis or Keith, I'm sure you know Dennis. Is your program similar in regards to Keith's program, or is it different as far as the program and the program description and everything? Did you guys share notes, Keith? So you could be,
but we do know each other.
Awesome. So, Keith, we were just talking about before we started. I'm down here in Tennessee, by the way. I'm in beautiful Gatlinburg. There's no pictures of bears, but this is I think black bear capital of the world. Great Smoky Mountains. I'm at the Tennessee School Plant Management Association's largest and most attended event, and they kicked off their core certification program. That they just started. They had 43 yesterday in the first core certification and 57 in the second. It's an 8-core program, and it's great, but it's people that are already established. But with that said, the hardest part of all this program, Keith, I'm guessing you would agree with me, is getting started. Right,
Yeah.
getting the blocks. And what would you say is a best practice, or were there any bumps in the road, or people going, that'll never work here, or this is the way we've always done it, or I'm sure no one on this has ever heard those things, but
yeah. Well, obviously there's the world today it's all about liability, right? Everyone's worried about being sued. Everyone's worried about somebody getting hurt. So we pull out all the punches. We work with the city. We're indemnified. We have a co-contract with the city. I think the biggest piece is to make sure your superintendent, your business official, the people that people like myself would normally report to are on board and understand the goals and the vision. I'm very blessed here. I have a wonderful superintendent. I have a wonderful administrative team that I belong to. Very supportive. They stay focused on the whole child, and rarely does someone lose vision of why we're here. There's nothing better than a program like this. It gives students purpose in the summer. It keeps them engaged in school, whether it be cleaning or actual studies. It allows a place to go and earn a few bucks. So I guess I would make sure you have your administrative support and you understand the liability aspects. It took a few years to iron it out. But it is a well-oiled machine. We get those names, we assign them, we have an orientation, and then we start to learn about the students' interests. I had mentioned earlier that we have school initiatives, we have school and city initiatives. The city of New Rochelle just started another new initiative called New Rochelle Forward, and what that is, it's a program for young adults. I think the age is 18. I'm not, it might be 16, but there's all kinds of classes you can take. Some of them are to be a flagger, transportation, electrification, supported scaffolding, OSHA 30 construction safety, urban handy person that talks about drywall, taping, paint, finish, furniture, appliances, work site. So what I'm getting at is there's such a boom here in New Rochelle there's 9 high rises going up. There's a need for qualified workers. The city recognized that. So between the school and the city, and now the city is taking it a step further on their own as well in this program called New Rochelle Forward. And they're giving these trainings at a very, very low cost to teach the basics for people who want to be general laborers or general groundmen, to give them a base. And it's also, I think it's a lot like Brendan's offering and services. It's not only classes and training and support, but it's also job placement. They're working with contractors who have a need, and they're filling these roles with people who otherwise I think would just be unsure what they wanted to do and not have vision or passion. And this is giving a lot of folks options that they might not have all by themselves.
And Brendan, I got to tell you, and for those that are on the call, Brendan wasn't brought on as someone to do business in this space, because I don't see that you do much with education institutions currently. You're working with Mitsubishi and Trane and manufacturers and other folks. Is this program that you have, is this something like this, something that the Keith Watkins of the world could help with their onboarding and getting these young professionals, up and coming professionals, additional
Yeah,
certification and taking some of the task off of Keith's plate?
so we don't work too much with the big manufacturers. So what we work a lot with is like the local industry. So HVAC, plumbing, electrical companies in your area, they're the ones using our program to hire the students coming out of your school in a paid apprenticeship program and develop them up to being a full-blown service technician. On top of that, our training stuff starts at the very basics. I mean, just from like key hand tools. I mean, as simple as you can get understanding like what a flathead is. So that's like the very beginning. We've partnered with in a great organization called Explore the Trades. I don't know if it's in anyone on here has applied for that, but they work with like Ferguson and they give out a grant money to actually build lab programs inside of schools. Really awesome program. But what we do is we actually provide SkillCat to all of those schools that get that program to build that path, all those certifications and industry credentials that they need to go get a job after. So we very much so work in this kind of area. A lot of the contractors that you probably have coming out to go do the work are probably using our program to help train up their techs as well too. So
Interesting. Well, we got a question here, and that just popped in my head because I'm seeing some of these questions, and this is one of the questions that caused me to kind of pose it, and we can build off of it. But another Oregon, Dan Temple's here, and welcome, Dan. He says, my staff are not trained educators. This is a great question. It is not in their job description to work with the students or train apprentices. Have you had much pushback from your trades or unions? Any concerns about students working alongside non-licensed staff?
Yeah, it's a great question. You got to have buy-in, right? So I went to my team and I said, hey, you folks this is going to be high school based, the students are there. They're going to have a free period or two. They're going to communicate. They're going to reach out because the onus is on them to say, hey, this is my time frame. Can I work with you today? Well, so I had to have buy-in from my staff. I'm in Westchester County, so my electrical foreman, my plumbing foreman, my carpenter foreman, they're all licensed professionals in Westchester County. It's part of the civil service job requirement. Actually, my electrician's a master electrician. My plumber's a master plumber. These are just great guys who also have families, who understand, who have had kids in school. They are happy to share the knowledge and work with these folks. And we've had great feedback. We ask the kids that we have like an exit survey. What did you like the most? What did you like the least? What did you learn? Do you feel this is going to, put you where you want to be? Was it helpful? All great stuff to hear back. But no, we haven't had an issue with the unions, and in this district, the union is very strong and very present and visible. I think even though we have our differences and sometimes we're not always coming from the same corner, we have the same vision that we are here to support our students, and if this is something that's going to help them get a leg up or put them in a path to be successful, people will go out of their way to remove the hurdles, and that's what I love about this school district. I love that. Even though there's differences, every time people are willing to do the right thing for our students. So
anybody that knows me says I pull no punches, and I do say things that people might cringe at, but and I'm not being mean about unions. I'm just saying your unions and your teams need to understand that if we don't do something different and we don't start to think outside the box and we don't start to really bear down and realize that we're not going to get people off Indeed. We're not going to get people in newspapers. We're not going to get these people in your everywhere places. We have to start doing things different. There won't be a need for a union because there won't be staff to be part of the union. Like this is a real challenge. If there's anybody on here that's on this call right now that is properly staffed, please share that you're properly staffed and you have no issues in finding staff and that you're doing everything great, because I'm assuming you're all here because we're all looking for the magic bullet. And so, one of the things that we really need to start to focus and hone in on as facility leaders, in my opinion, is the passion for the profession and why we want to do these things. And if you have team members that are not in their job description that says that they're trained educators, put it in there. get them professional development, get them talking to people like me to figure out how to communicate better their job, to teach them and show them, or get a program that's already established someplace and build it in. But we really need to figure this out, because the folks, you got to turn you got to kind of popping in and out there, Keith. Skills magazine, is that magazine?
Yeah, just going to chime in, Josh. This webinar is so timely. This is called Skills Magazine. It's a Westchester County based thing, but one of the biggest stories in here: union apprenticeships, pathways to build career after high school. I know I'm popping in and out, but the publications that come across my desk about the things that like Brendan is offering and these apprenticeship programs, it's all fishing. It's all lures to try to find that connection with the youth and the young adults and even the adults who are kind of in between jobs and don't know what's out there that they could possibly tap into and start a new career or build on an existing one and become even more successful in what their chosen path is. But it's just very timely because, like I said, this is probably the fifth publication of some sort of apprenticeship that's come across my desk in the last month. So
yeah, I'll tell you, it's chiming in on this. This problem came, and where I see it is in the 80s and 90s. In the 80s and 90s, the folk tech school was where you went if you couldn't survive regular high school and plan to go on to college. There was this push from for Gen Xers especially, that it was an expectation that everyone went to college, and if you didn't, then you went to the Voc Tech school to learn a skilled trade. Today, fortunately, there's wait lists. I know that one of the local Voc Tech schools will have 600 open spots or 240 spots for the incoming freshmen, and they had 600 plus applicants. So that talent pool is there. And so if those kids can't get into Voc Tech schools, and our public schools can start developing programs like Keith and Dennis and others have, then we can bridge that gap for some of these kids that otherwise wouldn't have an opportunity to learn. And I think that's just phenomenal. I got screwed up here on the chat. I want to make sure I didn't miss.
Two things I want to throw in here too is you're probably right with your staff not being educators. I mean, they went in there to go work with your hands. That's what they like doing. They probably didn't go to school to go become teachers. So that's why, a platform like ours is great to go mix in there to go through it. And if you're looking to go set up an apprenticeship program, they don't actually really have to educate on anything. A apprenticeship program is just work hours that they're with you, and then RTI, which is related technical instruction. It's like 144 hours that can be online or through any other program. A lot of like HVAC companies in your area, they just put someone in a truck to get the hours, and then at night for 2 hours twice a week, they go put them at an HVAC school up the road to go get all that technical training. So you don't really have to have them really teach if you have a program that goes along with it. There is some hands-on of like showing how it's done, but they just explain it the same way that they go through and how they do it. Someone working with your hands will eventually start to understand that.
No, that's good. That's good stuff. And it triggered another thing. And again, all of my questions to my panelists are for all of you, so please feel free to chime in. But Keith, do you ever have outsourced vendors that come in, whether it's an electrician or a HVAC company? Do they ever come into your office and say, "Hey, do you have anybody that you can think of that might want a job when they come out of high school?" Like the feeder system. I mean, and that's got to be, now that they know. I'm sure that these vendors know that you have this program exists. Are they coming knocking on your door for recruit?
Well, there's definitely a certain level of outreach, but being the selfish guy that I am, that you've known to love and grow up with, we want to grow it. We're growing our own for a reason, right? We're never going to hold anybody back that's good in producing. I've got folks that I know when they come to me, I'm like, yeah, we've got this person for 2 years max. They're just too much of a visionary. They're too talented. They can go make more money somewhere else. I mean, they got to weigh in the health benefits and the pension in New York State. But that pool that I was talking about 2 years ago, one of those. So right now I'm in the middle of a small project for me, but it's just about $30 million. And what we've done with some of our internships, interns, we're putting a hard hat on them, and I'm pairing them up with my Jacobs construction management team. They're walking they're getting real in the field experiences right now about how to pour footers, how to tie rebar. They're doing window replacement. They're doing roofing. They're getting a hands-on experience right here. And actually, one of the folks a couple of years ago left me and did an internship with Jacobs in another internship. And I believe they've moved on to another company as a assistant project manager. So I like to see folks get where they want to get and fulfill that up, their vision and their purpose and their passion. But yeah, I do have folks ask, but I try to guard the ones I want to keep as much as I can. But it goes both ways too. I have certified technicians and tradespeople on the outside private world always coming in, taking civil service exams, trying to get into the school district because typically the health benefits are better. The pension is, taking a hit over the years here in New York, but it's still something that's viable and a good option for some people. So it's kind of a give and take, Josh. Actually, it goes both ways.
Yeah. Well, and that's interesting because the number one thing that I hear when people leave in the public education space is money. They leave for money, and I'm an advocate for this, and I've yet to find I would say this, I very rarely find that people leave the core reason being money. It's the asking why 3 times. If someone's leaving because of money, it's typically because other things have triggered their reason to look, and then they go, well, I can have just as difficult a time with people at someplace else and make more money. Why wouldn't I do that, right? So it's a personality, it's a leadership issue, it's a number of different things. I'm curious because I think that the public education system in any role in most places in the country still have a reasonably good, I don't have a pension, right? I'm in the private sector. I'm responsible for my own retirement. Social Security, they keep saying is going to be there, but I don't think it's going to be there when I can get it. They're probably going to extend the age to 87 by the time I get there. So, all these different things. And I'm curious because I don't hear many schools do this. And Keith, I believe you and I have had this conversation before. And if we haven't, we're going to now. Do you educate your staff, custodian up all the way up the line to every staff member? Do you teach them the financial pieces of what their profession looks like? Like, I don't feel that the young team members that are coming on understand or think about much, and we probably didn't think about it because if I did, I'd probably be on the other side of the fence in the school right now. Do you educate them on like what that looks like and how their career path can be and what they'll have at the end of the day? I mean, you're 53, right? That's what you said.
Almost 54. Yep.
I'm 50 and you're retiring next year.
I am.
I'm 50 and I don't think I'm ever retiring. So, do you do that? And anybody else do you have a fiduciary, like a financial discussion with your team, or do you just say, hey, here's your wrench, here's your mop, here's your stuff, get to work? Like, what does that look like? Because that's important.
Yeah, it's a great question because, the first thing that when someone comes to me and says, hey, I've got this opportunity, I wanted to run it by you. The first thing I do is I pull out my annual pension statement and I show what I'm going to get and I show what my beneficiary is going to get. But we do talk about those things. You can always make more money. And what are you sacrificing to do so? So health benefits in school districts are a big plus. It's a big bonus. They're usually very, very good. We have very good insurance here. We talk about that. We talk about the pension. The pension, like I said, has taken a hit in the past, but the state is talking about, like they combine tiers 3 and 4. They're talking about combining 5 and 6, which would then give tier 6 members the same benefits as 5. I think New York State overextended themselves and kind of changed too fast. And that's caused a lot of people to go elsewhere. But yes, to answer your question, yes, we do talk about the pros and cons, and I try to walk them through it. I know when they get hired, they go to health member benefits, they go to payroll, they go to civil service, they have to get all their paperwork in, and a lot of these things are explained to them. Being a public school, you don't have a 401k, you have a pension, and also you have the ability to put money into what they call a 403b. I've put into a 403b for the last 35 years. I'm not worried about Social Security. I don't need it, right? So we talk about those things and we talk about, I've got friends who worked in private companies and they've retired, and every year they get a notice of how much less they're going to be getting because the company is in arrears, and they're manipulating the amount of payoff, and they've signed a new contract with the union, and now they're going to be getting this much less. And I always say that though it's not ever guaranteed, school districts are a kind of a secure place for you to work. Now, being a young boy of 18 years old, and my dad telling me he was a custodian for 27 years and said, I worked part-time. He says, you're going to take this job. I said, no, I'm not. He says, yes, you are. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. I took the job. We all know how that goes. I said, can I still do construction by day? He said, I don't care what you do during the day, but from 2 to 10:30, you're going to be a cleaner in this building, and you're going to report to work, and and I said, why would I want to clean toilets? Pension, the hourly wage, health benefits. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just working. I wanted to work. So I did construction by day and I did custodial work by night. Little did I know that I was building my future, took civil service exams. I started out as a custodial worker, which is just below a cleaner in most civil service titles. I was at the bottom of the barrel.
I was going to say probably lowest wage, or one of the lowest wages.
That was the lowest civil service title. It didn't even require an exam. So started branching out, started taking exams, started doing good on them, and then I started getting Canvas letters. But it's all about understanding what you want to do, what your own goals are. But I still tell people that even though it's changed a little bit, public education is not a bad place to show some interest.
Yeah, and I believe, and you're one of the highest recognized in the state of New York, which you went like you say, you went from the least paid to one of the highest paid, if not highest paid in the state. Correct. In your profession. Yep. But that happened. I'm not going to say there was some luck there, but there was probably some luck there, because when you first started, you had your dad, right, who gave you the dad talk of you will do this with no roadmap. And I think that's the biggest thing that I see that we can do better as leaders, is provide these roadmaps for these young professionals that are coming in, that says, look, you don't need to be stuck in this position. You can choose to be in this position, whatever it is. Ken Wirtz just gave a presentation down here. He was a licensed plumber, and he's now the executive director of National School Plant Managers Association. He was a facility director, top paid in the area, facility director, and great at his job. I think as leaders, we need to do more than say, you will do this, like your dad did, like my dad did.
I had no choice.
and start to look at things and say, do you know what your opportunity is? Mm-hmm. Because I didn't know what my opportunity was at 22. At 22, when I started in this profession, having the honor to serve education institutions, I was just happy to have a job.
Yeah. Well, I think that conversation, Josh, having 3 boys who all have exemplary work ethic, it's because of the way they were raised, the accountability they had as young boys. Listen, hard work still works, right? Don't be afraid to put your head down, grindstone, get to work, figure it out. Don't let people tell you you've got to go to school, you've got to go to college. You may have to, you may want to, and that's totally fine too. But hard work still works. Right. I will get alongside anybody who's willing to put in the time and the effort. And I would say, this is my plug for, the New York State School Facilities Association, past president, this pin on my jacket. I'm one of 16 CDFs. It stands for Certified Director of Facilities. Out of a membership of over 800, I think we're actually approaching 1,000. I'm one of 16 active CDFs. At one point, I think our highest number was 40. This pin and that accreditation has set me up in many interviews very well, right? It's not always what you know, though. Sometimes it's who you know. You build those relationships. I've met so many wonderful people through that association. This year, I'll be recognized as a 25-year member. It'll be my last conference. I'll be there in the future, probably at a table doing some sort of consulting. But, connect yourselves to people who have the same purpose or same passion. Right? Mm-hmm. You've got to network with individuals who can speak positives into your life and give you the feedback that you don't have the experience from yet. Right? Yep. Always ask the right questions, connect to those people, connect to the associations that are in line with your visions and your goals. And, just stick to it. Just stay passionate, stay on track. Because like I said, hard work still works.
Yeah, that's a great line, and another shout out for New York, and something that I always like to do is recognize people that were impactful for me, and the difference that can make in someone's career path. which you and I both share an award in the memory in honor of Pat Cochran, who was a dynamic leader in New York that I'll never forget when I met him. And he sat me down and he gave me the fatherly talk of, what I'm doing as a software salesperson and to not be a software salesperson and how to do it right and to do the hard work. Hard work still works. It's amazing. So we got Nancy says, Keith and Brendan, I love everything that the two of you are doing. Trades is an amazing option for so many students. Most students just don't realize it. Thank you. So thank you, Nancy. Well, this
And I
is
kind of wanted to loop back off of Nancy's comment there is students don't realize this. She's spot on. So it's like really sitting down, having those conversations with the students of what the opportunity looks like. I mean, everyone, when you have a question, what's the first thing you do? You go to Google. So you go in, you go type in how much can HVAC or how much can a facilities manager, how much can I go make? Everyone goes in there and types it. I mean, we started this conversation off, Keith, with your son went out there and he's out there making 160, 140, $120,000. Google's not going to tell you that. ZipRecruiter is not going to tell you that. If you type it in, I just typed it in, it tells me as an HVAC tech, I'm going to make about $60,000 a year. Okay, well, I know a lot of people making a hell of a lot more money. Now, there's so many different paths that you can go from that by entering into the trades. And I think that's really the education that we need to, in conversation, we need to start having with some of these students, relating it to them is, okay, you're going to start here, but you can go and you can do CSR, you can go do sales, you can go out, you can go be a service tech, you can go do you could run your own business. And I tell you what, there are people, I don't know if anyone's seen him, the richest guy to sell his plumbing company out of London, England. $150 million is what he sold his company for. No one's talking about that in school, that you can go out there, work for 20 years in a trade, work with your hands and go make hundreds of millions of dollars. These are the conversations that students are going to get really, really excited about and show them they have these opportunities to go wherever they want in life.
Yeah, I would bet that every attendee that's a facility leader in education that's on this call has a job fair in their gymnasium or their auditorium every year. And I want to poll and see, do you have a table for operations at your job fairs? Because I very rarely do I ever hear a yes. I would say less than 1% of the people that I ask that question to say yes. And my next question is, if the answer is no, why not? Your team your team set that space up. Your team made that space look phenomenal for companies to come in and promote their businesses, for people to come to work after they're done in high school or go to college or go to the service. And you made that space optimal for them to promote their professions. Why don't you have a table there talking about the professions that you have for people to be able to come to your space, to be the fabric of the community? That's schools are the fabric of the community. We can't lose focus on that. This is every kid every day, but there's a lot that goes on in these schools, Keith, and everyone listening, this. You put everything together for everyone. You don't say no, and the doors very rarely are closed and locked for people not to be able to get in.
Yeah, we have regular job fairs in conjunction and collaboration with the city right here at City Hall, down in the Rotunda. We have city jobs that are available. We have school district jobs that are available, and we communicate it. We announce it. The last job fair, I know we had well over 100 people come through the doors and either fill out an application on site or take one with them. And here's one more piece I'll add. There's one other program that we've had for many years. It's called our School to Work program. And this is especially designed for our special ed folks. Every day, a dozen to 16 special ed folks put on a blue facilities t-shirt. They get the same lanyard that I'm wearing. They go out into the high school and they work about 2 hours a day. They're cleaning windows. They're picking up outside on our 3 sports fields. They're cleaning cafeteria tables. They're sweeping. They're mopping. They're doing. That building, since we started that program, has never looked so good. It is absolutely amazing. And the fruits of this labor, what's come out of there is, I forget the exact number, but I want to say it was something like 88% of all special ed students when they graduate are non-employable they're 88 are non-employables, deemed non-employable. So what this does is this allows these students to then venture into Project Search, which is a job placement internship here locally, whether it be in a Montefiore hospital, whether it be in the school district. But I know of two special needs students who have been through our school to work program, have gone through Project Search. One in particular, I know, was hired this past year in our food service department at one of my elementaries, and she is food prepping and working in our school. So please understand that there's other folks. It's not just special ed folks have a niche. They work in my cafeterias daily. I have hourly staff who work during the day. There's a couple of special needs folks who also have regular hours and regular shifts that report on a daily basis. There's another resource that you should not be overlooking.
Yep. Yep. And Joe Cotter gets the star of the day. So he was the only respondent from Arlington CSD. Says we have an F&O table at our job fair. So thank you, Joe, and I hope that's contagious and other folks. This is the thing. It's impossible until it's possible, and it's something. It's a whole lot easier for people to wrap their heads around an idea if someone else is doing it. Yeah. If you can't see anybody else doing it, it's really hard to be a trailblazer, especially in this industry that you guys are all in. So for us, even for us to do, we're a for-profit, privately held software company, and for us to have an hour-long conversation and not talk about our company, that's something that's hard to wrap your head around, because most companies say, let me just tell you my name and tell you what I do and da 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 da. Yeah. And the reality is, we went off. We're trying to provide professional insight and opportunity for folks so that they can do their jobs better, so that they can staff people in their seats, so people can grow professionally the way that they want to grow, and then in turn, at some point, they'll want to do business with us. But there's a lot of fear and uncertainty and doubt because nobody else was doing it. And we chose to go that way. So, but Joe, great job. Thank you for being the trailblazer in Arlington. And then we've got Mike Gorman says, great point to inform employees of payroll, overhead costs, fringe benefit packages range from nothing to over 165%. I guess it could be 165,000. I get, yeah. Okay, that's a great point, Mike. Thank you for sharing. We've got 2 minutes, so if there are questions, comments, concerns, if it was great, make sure to commend Keith and Brendan on this thing. If it was terrible, your moderator, actually, we'll blame Paul Fletcher. We can't blame me. I just can't. It's too good of a day right now, so we'll blame Paul, because he's been very still in his window for the last hour. But with that, we'll look at the chat and questions here. But Keith, Brendan, Paul, thank you for giving us and making time for this. This is a very needed discussion. I think it needs to continue. Probably need to be multiple opportunities here to do this, because I think we're just scratching the surface. But really, thank you for what you do. Thank you for the time that you're committing and making the difference here.
No, thank you. Appreciate the time. I would say my parting gift is, stay at it, stick with it, keep removing the hurdles that people are putting in front of you to say this isn't going to work or this isn't going to happen. I would say stay persistent, get those hurdles out of the way, because once they see the growth and the fruits, and meaning that the students are getting the benefit, and then selfishly, you could potentially see that talent return and be on your own workforce, providing the services that you want to provide. I'd say that is a home run, and that is everything we should be striving for.
Yeah, 100%. And connect with Keith on LinkedIn. Keith, one of the things that you do that I also think in job creation and retention is the what you're doing on LinkedIn, which you do a great job of showcasing your team, showcasing your district and your projects, and making the world know what an amazing place New Rochelle is. And if you're ever in the New Rochelle area, give Keith a call, because he gives a heck of a tour, and some of his spaces and places are extraordinary. They look like medieval. One looks like a medieval castle. It is pretty impressive. So, Brendan, how can people get a hold of you?
I'll put my email right here in the chat. And I guess my one last little piece of advice takeaway is, remember, these are students. Remember what the generation is coming up nowadays. As you're talking to them, they're looking for instant results. They want to know why they're doing things. Keith talked about they're cleaning the windows. Talk about the discipline of what that's going to be for them later in life, why they're building these life skills. I mean, one of my biggest things I wish high school taught me more was my life skills. So there is an opportunity not only to just help educate them on the trades and help your school, but also really give them that opportunity to set them up for life that they might not realize it until 10 years down the road, which I realized when my dad was making me make my bed, it was discipline was what he was teaching me. So years down the road, you'll effectively help change these kids' lives. So
Great point.
Oh, this is awesome. So I will close this with thank you to all that are on this call. You gave us something that you cannot get back, which is your time. We hope that you got value out of it. And that if you have ideas, thoughts, challenges that are outside the scope of what we do at Operations Hero, and you want to either share or have us find industry experts like Keith and Brennan, we want to do more of these. We want to help you as best we can with the challenges that you face. If it has to do with software, we hope that you call Operations Hero and give us a shot, because we're going to be busy doing these programs here, trying to help you with all the other stuff as well. And if you have any questions, concerns, we're going to send the recordings out to you shortly. And I just hope you all have a great day. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody.
awesome. Thank you all.